Rhonda, and we're doing Tarot Delights, and this is...
I'm Kayla from Wayward Spirit, and yeah, we're gonna do Tarot Delights. What card are we doing today?
We are doing the Strength card.
Ooh.
Strength. I got my big deck out.
And I have multiple versions of the Strength card.
Yes, you do.
So this is always my go-to deck, the This Might Hurt by Isabel Rothman. And so that has the lion, and I'll do that. Maybe it'll get there.
Yeah.
And then...
Sorry for the shakiness. It's wobbling a little bit.
The table's not as stable as we thought. And then my other go-to deck is the Chakra deck. Mm-hmm. And it's got the heart chakra and the crown or third eye.
That's the third eye.
Third eye. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, because the heart and the third eye are, your mind and your heart.
Mind and heart. That makes sense. And I've really been enjoying the Wildwood Tarot recently. So instead of Strength, it's called the Stag.
Oh, okay.
So we might get into, and it's mid-season, it wasn't equinox, what was it? When we
It's usually the sign, astrology sign, Leo.
Yes.
So probably summer tail end of it or something.
Spring equinox.
Spring equinox.
I was thinking
okay.
fall and was like, that's not right.
Right. Okay. It's spring. All right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I've got my fairy tale deck as well, and of course it's Beauty and the Beast, because the common theme most of the time for the Strength card is a lion, right? There's some form of a lion. Now in the Wildwood we have the stag, which is sort of the equivalent, because in Celtic woods you don't find lions.
Nope.
So you would find the stag. And the spring equinox, yeah, that makes sense, because that's when their antlers are big, because like I've seen the memes going around about, Santa's reindeer, and they're all female because they have their antlers, right?
Yep.
And females only have them in the winter time. The males have lost them. And the males also lose them in fighting with each other.
Well, I mean, it's a good defense mechanism. And
True.
I can only, well, it's just, sorry, we were talking about stags, but when you said fighting with each other, my brain went to like the ram horns that decide to charge at each other.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are fighting. They get up on their hind legs and run at each other. Now, another symbol that's often, not always, on this Strength card is the affinity symbol, or the number 8.
Yes.
It's also on the Magician, if you'll notice, right? Because the Magician is the beginning of our journey. He's the one that shows us we have the tools to be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And Strength is one of those levels of completion, right? Because we found that strength. Because the strength is usually about that inner working and finding power in the most positive way. We see power being used in negative ways all the time, but learning the power in that most positive way. And that power, true power, is soft and quiet.
Yeah, power used gently.
Yeah,
Yep.
Power used gently, exactly. And having that purposefulness behind power. Like I'm doing this in a mindful way, as opposed to I'm reacting, therefore I'm angry and I'm yelling and I'm shouting and this is my power. And it's like,
Well, I think that's a lost art too in a lot of ways. Like we always end up having conversations to react to what the other person is saying instead of actively listening. And I know there's courses and courses and courses on how to fix how you listen to people.
tons of that.
It's really hard to deprogram yourself, and I use that word mindfully because I know that can mean many things to many people. But to really change how you view a situation or taking a step back and listen rather than responding right away is
or thinking about what you want to say.
Yep.
Because a lot of times that's what we're doing. It's like, I'm not hearing what you're saying, but I need to say something, so I'm just going to say it. And it's like, but you didn't even listen to what I said. And when I teach tarot, one of the first things I say is the best skill you can have as a tarot reader, over and above everything else, is learning to listen.
Agreed.
And like you said, taking that step back and not having that agenda of, I want to show you how much I know. I want to show you ways to fix things. I mean, yes, I do offer that sometimes, but usually I ask questions so that they kind of come to their own
Well, and
answers.
you've always said that too. And the mark of a good kind of, either counselor or healer or whatever is to offer the space for people to come up with their own conclusions. So you're not necessarily telling them how to find the answer, but allowing them this space to look within themselves to realize that they have the answer already.
Yeah. And giving that space of safeness, and I'm not here to judge. There's no judgment that's coming, because it's then that you, like you said, you can really explore, especially the darker parts of yourself, of your life, the difficult situations and decisions you might have to come to.
Yep.
And it allows you to explore that sort of before, you know, having to go in and talk to your partner, your kid, or your boss, or whatever. I mean, I counsel so many people when they want to talk to their boss about getting a raise.
Yep.
And that's a really hard conversation to have.
Tactfully, yes.
Yeah, and because, well, one, we're conditioned not to talk about money. Two, you really have to believe that you're worth, like, you have to have that self-worth and know, like, I bring a lot of things to this table. I deserve more than this. And you need to go in that quiet strength and be able to say, look, I get $20 an hour. Now I want 25, you know, and I counseled someone on that yesterday. And I do that at least once a week where I'm counseling.
Well, I feel like that's
you know,
a hard conversation to have, and if you don't do it just right, or the phrasing isn't there, the person trying to receive that information, or your higher up or your boss or whatever, they're not even gonna listen.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, you're just doing X, Y, and Z, and da 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 da. So I feel like that is a very tactful conversation. I know there's creators on the internet, and there's some really good ones out there. Not everyone's really good, but there's some really good ones out there that have taught people how to ask for a raise tactfully and gently, so that they don't burn those bridges. So it's a very mindful conversation that you need to have.
Yeah, and you need to have some power behind it, again, that quiet power, because there's a lot of monkeys in charge of things they shouldn't be in charge of. You know, it's like, and maybe your boss is one of those monkeys.
Who knows?
So, you know, like, there's a lot of ego that
Yeah.
you're going up against, right?
And
Like,
you almost have to check your own ego too, right?
oh,
'Cause, like,
absolutely. 100% you have to check your own ego. But when you walk in there, even if you have, like, this, you know, suits me, or I'm worth it, or whatever, you might be talking to an idiot who's in charge,
Yeah.
right? And you have to, I call it managing up, right? You have to manage up. You have to kind of stroke their ego a little bit, and you have to check your ego, knowing it's okay that I have to do this, because by stroking the ego, you get them listening,
yes.
right? And
Well, a lot of people are programmed, and this is no fault of their own. Society's really like, oh my gosh, we could get into a whole podcast about like the relationship in society and how it affects you, and like the manipulation, da 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 da. I feel like that's another delights
Yeah.
episode. But people are very much like, what can I get out of this? Like, yes, you're still my worker, and yes, like, I pay you money to be here to provide a service for me. But you almost have to like sell yourself, but also be very mindful and tactful how you place those compliments as well. And like,
yeah,
all of
you
this
can't be
take-
obvious,
yeah,
right?
So all of this takes like quiet power and quiet strength. And I just had a whole like epiphany about the strength card, and like maybe it could be, tarot could be used in a different way. Holy crap. Okay. I can't articulate what I'm thinking right now. I apologize, but maybe I'll get to it to a future episode. But
Yeah.
I like the fact that the strength card is used in quiet power, and traditionally it has a lot of like nuance to it, because it's a major arcana. You've come from the Chariot into the Strength, and it's another step on that journey.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, you know, like the Beauty and the Beast is the fairy tale behind. I don't like the drawing. It looks like a skinny guy with a lion head. Like, it looks ridiculous.
Oh my god, it does. What?
It's not the big beast.
I
know?
love the owl though. That's cute.
Yeah, yeah. There's an owl there, and owls are a symbol of. A lot of people think birds are a symbol of death, but owls are actually a symbol of a solution coming.
Interesting.
Yeah,
That brings
so-
a whole new meaning to an entire deck of owls that I have. Because that could be a whole layer in and of itself.
Yes, absolutely, for sure. So in the original Beauty and the Beast, Beauty I know the Disney version, she has a couple of sisters that are very greedy, but she actually has some brothers too. But the father is a merchant. So in those days, merchant meant you sent sailboats out to go get rum and sugar
Oh,
or
yes, yeah.
spices or whatever, and you could lose your entire fortune if a ship sank. That was hard to say for some reason.
Saturday morning limericks.
Yes, exactly. And one of his ships did sink, so he lost his fortune. So the sisters started bitching and complaining that, we're poor, blah, blah, blah. And Beauty actually went out into the fields and started to work because she was humble, very much like Cinderella, taking that humble route. And of course, her father, he hears that his fortune is back, so he goes traveling to some dockside to go get it, and he ends up stopping at the Beast's castle,
Oh, okay.
and it's an old crone who's put the curse on him because she came by and he wasn't very hospitable to her, so she turned him into the Beast, right? And I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version, basically. So the dad leaves, as we all know, and he plucks a rose. And the only thing, when he went away, the sister said, "Oh, bring me furs, bring me jewels." And Belle only said, "I just want a black rose." So he grabs a rose from the Beast's garden. The Beast catches him, and he begs for his life. And the Beast actually gives him a fortune, which is kind of interesting in the old version of it.
Okay.
That's where he gets his fortune from, is the Beast gives it to him in exchange for his daughter. Apparently he's willing to sell off his daughter, no problem.
Yeah, but I feel like that was the time in which it was written. 'Cause I
Yeah.
feel like that at that time was common practice in order to gain wealth, or if you wanted, if like say you were a father that had a daughter and someone wanted to marry your daughter, you had to pay for that right to marry the, I don't know.
Yeah. There was many marriages of convenience.
Yep.
And things like that. It wasn't always for love. But the rose is the star of life. It's also the queen of all flowers, right? And black represents the unseen beauty within, the hidden beauty of the rose, and the hidden beauty of humanity. Because we can be beautiful, even though we often see each other's ugly side, so to speak. Because, when you're raging and angry and miserable, that's not the best you, right?
No.
And
People should really stay offline when they're feeling upset.
yeah, right? Like, take a minute, go offline, have a cookie.
Well, like I remember one of my first YouTube videos, if you were to find my personal channel, I think it's still up there, and I said it in a way that it didn't directly call anyone out, but I was just really frustrated at, I had just gone through 4 years of education, and I was like, why can't I get a job?
Okay.
And, past me didn't realize that you really had to work for it. Because our program used to build us up and be like, you're God's gift to this certain field. And really that's not the case, but it kind of created some hubris that I had to work through. And so I was like, I've done all this work. Where's my reward?
Right.
And life doesn't always work like that. And
Yeah.
20 something me was like,
Yeah, exactly. And, when you're that age, you tend to think, well, I've done some work, so therefore I should be rewarded.
Yeah.
And,
not always the case.
not always the case. Absolutely.
So you learn things.
Yeah.
But that would be an example of and don't get me wrong, I said it mindfully, so I don't care that it's still up.
Mm-hmm.
But going with this now and age in TikTok, I would never have been in that mindset and immediately filmed a video.
Right.
Because I feel like we need to almost take a step back, take a beat, think about what you're gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Because employers look everywhere.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I probably did and said, and luckily none of it was recorded.
Well, you've all heard the stories of people 10, 15 years ago. They're at a great job now and their life is fine, but then 10, 15 years ago, they're not the same person.
No, and I don't think you should hold that against someone.
No,
either.
and that's it.
If
Like,
you're having to dig that deep, it's like, okay, it's too deep.
yeah, no, I agree.
And really, we should be allowed our own personal lives as long as it's not hurting anyone.
But this was reminded one of the code of conducts that I technically agreed to in maintaining one of my jobs is that if you do something even on your off time that reflects badly on the company, there will be ramifications.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
a
I feel
lot.
like that's standard now.
Wow.
Just with, and it basically
But
boils down
that's
to,
very subjective in a lot of ways.
It
Not that I
is.
want to go on that tangent. But
No.
It's like what is not good for the company, right?
well, and I
Like,
think
what
it
is that
boiled down to
definition?
like, don't wear the work shirt to a bar after work.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that was the example that was given. But, and I mean, that goes without saying, but people don't listen to that sometimes. So I think,
Well, yeah, if you're stopping for a beer after work, or
Yeah.
you're changing shirts, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? Like, I get it. Like, I've seen the Pepsi guy or the Coke guy
Yeah.
at a restaurant, and what if they're drinking Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi because that's what the restaurant has, but they're the opposite, right?
Yep.
Like, it's like, do you have to leave? Do you have to take your shirt off? What do you have to do?
and I think, in working for one company, over the years, like, I've gotten that mentality of like, what's good for the company.
Right.
Not on my off days, but like during shift, like in problem solving, like what's good for the company, and finding that quiet strength
Right.
in really making sound decisions that your boss will back you up on.
Right.
So you can't
right.
go out of left field.
Oh dear. But I mean, the strength card really is that transformation card.
Yep.
It's the discipline of the mind. It's the discipline of your energies, because you're learning to respond. Like reacting is a totally normal, natural thing, by the way. A lot of people go, don't react, respond. But if someone tells you that there's been an awful accident and someone you love has died in it, or, I always go to the negative, but
I mean,
you will react. It's normal to react. Like if you hear of someone dying that you care about, you're going to be sad. You might go, oh my God, and, just break down, depending on who the person is, of course. And that's totally fine. Or someone might hurt you and you get angry. And that's a totally normal, fine reaction. It's the beat after the reaction that is now your choice to stay angry or to stay sad. And sometimes you stay sad for a while because if you've just lost your loved one, you might be sad for a little while. Someone has hurt you or wronged you in some way, you might be angry for a little while. But know that the beat after the reaction, you're making that decision to be there. And it might be justified anger or justified sadness, but you also know that you're going to come out of it and you're going to make that decision to move away from it and not live in it and rehash it. Like I was just talking about this with someone just the other day about we were talking about when people mark the anniversary of either a birthday or when that person passed.
Okay.
And they, they're like, oh, my dad would have been this age, or I miss my mom. And yes, we all do that. But
Can't live there.
can't live there. And with social media, you're being allowed to rehash it and to put it up to get that sympathy. Which, if you need it in those moments, that's okay. But are you doing that because you need support? Or are you doing that because you want to relive that? Because I've often said to people when I do mediumship and stuff, if you really love that soul and you keep reminding yourself and everyone else in your world that this is when my mom died and this is when her birthday was and blah, blah, you're hanging on to that and you don't want to let go of the grief, you can actually trap a soul doing that.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Because you're not allowing them to move on as they should, right? And just as when I die, yes, I want people to be sad, but I don't want them to live in sadness for the rest of their years.
But that's also processing an emotion and living there, two very different things.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So you can remember someone who's passed and then like be like, oh, hey, it's their birthday today. Happy birthday to so-and-so. Too bad you're not still with us, or I'll have a drink for you, whatever.
Yeah.
But you're right, to constantly kind of live there doesn't seem A, healthy for the person, and B, trapping a soul, that does not sound like something
No,
I want
right?
to even karmatically.
Yeah, because like when my mom or my dad's birthday comes up, because they both passed, in my mind I kind of mark it. I might tell my husband, you know, or maybe a couple close friends, oh, it's my mom's birthday today, so I'm just kind of thinking about her.
Yeah.
You know, and that's okay. But I'm not like up there going, oh, everybody. I don't put up a sign on my door
Yep.
and go, my mom's birthday is today. She's dead, and I feel horrible. You know, and because by doing that, it's making it worse on me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's not the true support I'm looking for. It's a false support in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, and I find that. No, you made me think of something, and now I can't articulate it. Okay, so
She's having a hard
moving
time
on.
articulating
I don't have coffee
things.
yet today, apparently. I opted for the tasting good and not caffeine related drink today.
There you go. I went for the caffeine. Thank you, Timmy's.
Not sponsored, but if you want to, hit us up.
Yeah, exactly. Not sponsored by Tim Hortons yet.
I love how you were saying, like, you can react but take a beat, because it says in the Healing Chakra Tarot, like, continue to take good care of yourself because it is likely to be a long haul, and you need to maintain a healthy balance of energy input and output so you can see this work to completion.
Yeah, that's
So I really,
great. I love
I really
that.
like that sentiment in relation to the Strength card.
Yeah, because we're often told to do work, and you know, a lot of us do. And you know, because of the nature of my business, I get a lot of people that are real givers, but they often neglect themselves. They don't give to themselves,
Yep.
or find that, you know, what's your guilty pleasure, and you know, making that your carrot in some cases, or making it exist in your life. Like one of the questions I ask people a lot is, what do you do in your downtime? What's a hobby or something you love to do? And most people can't answer that question because most people don't have one.
That makes sense, because as you were asking that, I'm like, what do I do as a hobby? And I've kind of turned my hobby into a business, because tarot was a hobby.
Yeah.
And because I found I loved it so much, I was like, I want this to be more a part of my life. So it's not something that I just do on my downtime. But
You know, there's a lot of people who love to cook and make that their business too, right?
For sure. And but I find like I couldn't readily come up with an answer.
Yeah, like where I can give you a laundry list of things. I love to crochet, I love to cross stitch, I love to read, you know, I love to write and do my junk journaling. So, I mean, I have a lot, like my down days are not my down days, like as far as like I don't just sit vegetating on the couch. I mean, I have those moments too, but
I was like, I don't have those days often. What I do, I'm a couch potato. Like I rot on the couch. But that's also because like in my non-down days, I'm 3 places within the day. Like
yeah,
that's,
you're very busy.
but that's the reality. And like I know that's a reality I've made. Like that is not lost on me. But I now I want to be like, what could I do besides reading? Because reading's amazing.
Yeah.
As like a hobby. Now I'm gonna think about that.
Yeah, because your hobbies are the things that are feeding your soul, that are helping you have that self-care. Because people think self-care, and a lot of people go, well, I don't have bubble baths that often. I'm like, you don't have to have a bubble bath. I mean, if that's
Self-care
your
can
thing.
mean so many
It
things.
can, absolutely. It could
Ugh, we could
be
do an entire
cooking a
series on that.
treat for yourself. It could be, you know, I go for a walk in the woods, you know, whatever it is.
Amazing, by the way, going into nature. If you're ever feeling like stuck and you want to move some energy quickly, go find a tree.
Yeah, go and talk to a tree. And you don't even have to move your lips or talk out loud.
Nope. They'll hear you.
They will hear you.
Or in my sense, the first time. So I told this story recently. I don't remember if it was you or somebody else. I was helping a client. I think I was still in school, but we were on placement. I was helping a client get ready for a work job, so they had to do something before that. And it just so happens that we were down by the river, down by the water. We don't have
Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario, and we were walking, and like, you know, there's like the path, and there are trees around, but there was like this one specific tree was like, hey, and I like took a double take. I'm like, what? But like, I didn't have to talk to it. It just was kind of like, hey, I'm here.
Right.
And we revisited that path because it was like a consistent, like, show up at this time at this place for a couple of weeks. And so that's how I kind of got into the whole, like, trees can talk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was really cool to kind of, and ever since then, in whatever job I have, I try to find that piece of nature.
Right.
So like when I'm on yard duty, my muggle job is I'm an EA for a school board, and we have yard duty. That's the reality of the world, because someone's always got to be watching the kiddos.
Yep.
And so I usually position myself, if possible, or at least send energy to some of the trees on the property, because
Nice.
every school has at least one decent tree.
Yeah, that's true. We are very blessed with a lot of green in Canada.
We really are.
Yeah, so I love that you can pretty much find a tree almost anywhere.
Yep.
Which is great. I love it.
And plants work too if you don't have trees around.
Yeah, plants do work. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, that strength card, like in the Beauty and the Beast fairy tale one, they're saying the prince is the ego and the will force.
Yeah.
Right? So when you get that strength, that quiet strength, I think you called it, it really is, you have to check your ego, and you have to, make sure, like, when you're making those decisions, am I doing this because I'm scared, proud, embarrassed, as opposed to from that place of strength. And the place of strength is center. And it offers that infinity of coming, like, the infinity symbol to me is not like unlimited. It is, but to me, it's a constant spiral coming back to center.
Yeah.
Because it always comes back to the center of that.
So it's that
figure eight.
reminder of you can go out this way or out this way, but like center yourself back.
Yeah.
So regardless of what you're doing in the day, and like don't stress constant back to center. It's a good reminder just to even take a breath. Like sometimes we're so overwhelmed in our daily situations. Like the other day, I don't have a like schedule right now because I'm not in a regular place for my muggle job, but so like something happened where I was thrown off balance, and I was like, okay, when I get a moment, I just need to like find center.
Right.
It throws your brain off if you're not at least trying to get back there. Like, I understand you're going to be in situations or things come up, like, oh my God, this person called out and we're going to be short-staffed and da-da-da-da-da. But, like, take a beat and be like, okay, I need to find my center. And that can be as small as counting how many ceiling tiles there are, just to kind of give yourself that monotony for 2 seconds.
Yeah, because that's what meditation is the constant coming back to center. It's sometimes called the never-ending prayer, because prayer is supposed to take you to that meditative center. So people often sit down in front of me and go, oh, I can't meditate, I can't slow my mind, and blah, 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 or I can't empty my mind. And it's like, that's not the point of meditation. The point of meditation is disciplining your mind and your heart. That's why those chakras are lined up in your chakra card, of constant coming back to center.
Yep.
And that's what it is. It's a constant. And the idea behind the never-ending prayer is to always try and be in that state all day long, in that meditative state, so that your cares are a little carefree. Things don't knock you. Like if
as
someone,
much as they did.
yeah, if someone yells at you and tells you to F off or whatever, you're like, okay, that person's having a bad day. I hope their day gets better and you come back to center.
Well, I feel like that's also Reiki principles too. So like you can call it whatever you want. It's still the same thing. You're coming back to center, but it's like in this moment, or usually it's like for this day I will not anger, or for this hour I will not anger, for this moment I will not anger. And it's just like letting things wash over you and just not taking it to heart and just breathing through the moment.
Yeah, because if someone comes up to you and tells you to F off for no reason, most people feel it's justified to yell back at that person.
Yep.
But if you're really coming from a place of strength, you're like, you're troubled right now. I wish you well.
Yep.
Yeah, and you don't have to say it to their face, because they might get more angry if you're calm about it.
Yep.
And it's a little bit of, you're even madder now because I didn't react to it. So there's a little bit of ego there too. But it is like truly coming back to center, and truly, like, it's true forgiveness too. Like, some people who know my story know, why have you forgiven that? And I'm like, because it's for my own strength, my own peace, my own well-being.
Well, and that's it, because like you can take stuff on that isn't yours.
Yeah.
And like there was a lot of, so like, and like anybody, I had a lot of anger at some point, and I still do on some things. But when a significant thing happened in my life, I learned to let go of a lot of that anger, because there wasn't any point in keeping it. And I was like, why why am I letting this anger bug me and just sit here and fester? And I can just kind of let it go.
And in the moment, I get it why people get angry and they don't want to let go of it. And you're not going to let go, like, here's my anger, just take it.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, no, it's a
especially
process.
For
It's a
big
process.
things. Yeah. And I always say it's kind of like you're holding on to this big giant cookie and you give it over a crumb, like
At a time.
literally a crumb at a time. But you're always very proud when you give over that crumb.
You're like, ooh. Or you can actually think that you're done with it, and then something happens where the
like,
world's
oh,
like,
I
hey,
still
are you
miss-
actually done with it? Let's test.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, crap, thought I was done with this. But that doesn't always happen. Like, we're not saying that, like, as you try and give things over, you'll be constantly reminded of them. But just, like, it's going to take some time. You'll eventually get to a point where it's like, eh.
Yeah, because, like, I mean, I'm a believer in angels, so I give over my frustrations, my anger, bitterness, regret, whatever it might be, to them. And I say, take it to the light, or I say, you are able to transform it more than I can right now. And they always bring some healing back to me. And that's essentially what strength is learning that unconditional love, learning to love your fellow human regardless of what state they might be in.
Yep.
Because ultimately we're all connected. So if I have peace, I want you to have peace, and I want this person to have peace and that person. And I can do that with my strength and with my grace and my gratitude and that discipline of knowing who I am and not hanging on to this stuff and knowing that love, the center is love. And love is the great healer. It's transformative. And the best way to learn unconditional love is through a dog.
Yes. Yes.
They are angels with fur.
They are. And I mean, if you're a cat lover, that works too.
That works
We're just
too.
dog people. And
Yeah, and dogs have this goofy
Yeah, they're like,
sort ofness to them that
Yeah.
cats don't have. I mean, cats, I have 2 cats. They're very loving, but they can be jealous.
is it Bob that used to sit on your tarot cards or still does?
Oh, yeah, Bob loves my tarot cards. Myrtle loves my crystals.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I
They're
have to
just
put my
giving her a
crystals
little...
up because she'll
She'll
put,
actually bite on them?
yeah, she'll carry them through the living room in her mouth.
I can only imagine when she's like, oh, I'll place that here. And meanwhile, you're walking, you're like, ow. It's like a, Lego 2.0. Exactly. Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
She does that with my beauty products too. She'll get up on my vanity and pick, like, I'm like, oh, she's a snob. She only picks the high-end stuff.
She knows what she likes.
She does. She's a true diva.
Oh, that's so cute.
She's hilarious.
Oh, animals are so precious. Oh my goodness. So I have the stag, which is the strength in the Wildwood Tarot.
Yeah, okay.
And I was just reading, and there's a lot of like an environmental lean on this, and just talking about the fact that we are guests of the earth and not masters, and ill-mannered children are the banquet offered freely by generous and forgiving host if we've behaved badly and are in danger of spoiling the gathering for everyone else. So it's just, I know that's a really random phrase, but it talks about how we need to be more mindful of like how we're treating the earth's resources, and I think it kind of leans more into environmentalism a little bit more, which is
Okay.
really interesting, and I feel like I haven't delved enough into this card to
Right,
properly.
right. And we do have to care for our Mother Earth.
Yes.
She is our mother, and we have to be more respectful. I mean, I know as mankind, we've not done the best job, but every little bit helps. And it's interesting too that the Strength card is before the Hermit, because we did the Hermit last week.
Oh yeah, we're kind of going backwards.
Yeah, we went backwards, but it is what it is. It was meant to be.
Yep.
Because the strength is what we have to have in order to bring self-awareness that the Hermit teaches us. So strength starts that journey of knowing who you are fully, because knowing who you are fully is accepting yourself as you are and learning to love. So strength is sort of that beginning of self-love and truly loving yourself. And like I've said this many times, I've talked about it, and I've done it in groups where I'll have a group of women and I'll say, what do you hate about yourself? And they know the answer like that. And then I ask, what do you love about yourself? And they'll say, oh, I hate my thighs, I hate my, boobs, I hate my stomach, whatever. But then they'll go to the sort of esoteric kind of traits for the beauty. Oh, I have a nice personality, or I like my eyes, you know, or whatever. And it's like, no.
I've watched you do this, and it's like exactly that. Is like, and I've done it myself, because before you and I talked about it, you were like, well, what you asked me, and I was like, oh, it's right, we do that just unconsciously.
Yeah, because we don't want to say like, oh, I think I'm beautiful all over, or women will sit and struggle with it and have no answer, right? And it's like you can nitpick yourself to death in what's wrong with you and why we feel it's okay to do that. And commercials encourage it.
Yeah.
You know, 50
There's
pounds
billion-dollar
from now,
industries.
or whiter teeth will make you more successful, or whatever it is, right? It's like when I saw the first commercial like that, I'm like, oh my God, we have to whiten our teeth now. It's like, aren't I already doing enough?
With brushing it and all that jazz. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I
I'm
feel
lucky
like-
if I flossed once a day.
Well, and it's true though, because like in more beauty, like you would have a better comment on this than I would, but I thought about it because you've taken like esthetician type courses. And
Yeah, I was a
worked
makeup
in that.
artist and
Yeah.
esthetician in another life.
And so like there is a demand of how you look personally, where like my job, as long as I'm moderately clothed and show up to my job not smelling, like relatively good hygiene.
Have the BO in check.
Yeah, we're good. Like I don't have to be a full face of makeup to make sure the kids don't escape the school.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like
yeah.
there are some industries that if you don't come with a full face of makeup and well done hair and well dressed, you're going home,
Right. Yeah.
which
yeah.
is bizarre to me.
Yeah. And it's really weird because I love watching those reality like glow up shows and
Yes.
stuff like
Oh,
that.
like we
Ding
grew-
dong.
We grew up with What Not to Wear
Okay, yeah.
from
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, TLC is not a good station. I'm just what I grew up with.
Yeah, and I love watching those shows, but I think the makeup artist has changed a little bit because they always come with these, you know, really high, lots of makeup kind of stuff, even on themselves. Now, as a makeup artist that was trained 30 years ago, we were taught to be underspoken because we're not the focus. The
No.
person who's getting the makeup is the focus.
Yeah.
So we were taught all black, you know, wear all black and toned down makeup. You know, we don't come with like big fluttering eyelashes and, you know, blue eyeshadow or whatever.
Well, I think the industry, like what people are looking for, or how people look for the people that know what they're doing, has changed. So
Yeah.
when you were talking about that, I was thinking of Sephora, which I know is a very minute, strand in the whole industry.
Yeah, the industry's huge.
Yeah. But they I think like a lot of their makeup artists do grandiose things.
Well,
so that-
sort of like the hairdresser. You walk in, you go, I want that hairdresser because I like her hair.
Yeah,
Right? And I
exactly.
always say, you actually don't want that one. You want the one who did that hair.
You're like, which one did your hair?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to do your own hair sometimes as a hairstylist. Like when you're cutting and stuff. I don't mean like putting it up
Yeah.
and whatnot. But yeah. It's funny how it has changed. And, you know, there's all kinds of YouTube tutorials nowadays. I love watching a lot of them.
Oh, I know. It's great. Like we had I remember a friend of mine, because as soon as my friends started getting into makeup, my mom was like, you don't have to do everything your friends do. So a friend of mine was telling me about her blue eyeshadow.
Okay.
Because, you know, grades, whatever,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You often start with the blue eyeshadow.
Yup.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And it comes and goes in waves as
Well,
far
that's
as
it,
being trendy.
Because nowadays people have full-on YouTube tutorials, and meanwhile us, we're like, yeah, we just figured it out.
Yeah, right.
We're like,
yeah.
oh, we left the house looking horrible some
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Oh my God. I remember the first time I had makeup put on me by a friend. And yeah, it was like, well, you want to take the black eyeliner and do it all the way around.
Oh, that's a 90s. That's a 90s kick for you.
I came home and I'd rubbed off some of the makeup because I didn't want my mom to know. But of course, black eyeliner stays there. And
Oh, yeah.
she's like, are you wearing makeup? Like, no. What are you talking about? We thought we were so clever at getting away with stuff that
No.
we clearly weren't getting away with.
The only thing we got away with is the fact that we didn't post it online.
Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. But in the old fairy tale, going back to fairy tales, because that's the only card I have here today outside of the RWS thing, is Beauty, when she comes rushing back, she sees in the mirror that the Beast is dying because he's sad, and she cries on him. And tears and water are very powerful.
Yep.
They're very healing. So she heals him and the spell is broken and blah, blah. Because the same thing happens in Rapunzel. When the prince falls from the tower, he gets blinded by the thorns.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And in Rapunzel, I've always loved that story because of the long hair. I thought it was amazing. But also she's the hero of the story. So she actually ends up, like, a lot of edited versions of the fairy tale is she ends up having twins.
Oh.
So he wasn't just going up there to say hi.
Well, you know.
And that's why the witch got so upset too, right? It's like, you've been messing around here. So she ends up having twins, and she finds him in some kind of desert or something, and she cries on him, and she heals his sight so he has his sight back, because she's been a single mom and impoverished. So he takes her
Come
back.
take care of your kids.
Exactly. So he takes her off to the castle, and then the happily ever after happens. So it's kind of funny, but I like that Rapunzel actually saves the prince.
I love how we've been brainwashed by society, because I've heard other reiterations of most fairy tales, but there's always something that you bring up about a fairy tale that I'm like, hey, what? Because I don't delve as deep as you do, so I learn things every time you open your mouth about fairy tales. I was like, there's twins in Rapunzel?
Yeah. Prince did his job, got her
Yep.
pregnant. And in Beauty and the Beast, again, Belle, I'm not sure if she's actually named Belle in the original one, but I'm just using Belle because that's what the Disney version
We all know
calls.
who you're talking about when you say Belle.
Exactly. So she's actually sort of the hero in that one because she saves her father, she saves the Beast,
Yep.
and she saves her entire family from...
And by breaking the curse, quote unquote, doesn't she save like the entire castle?
Yeah, she saves the whole castle.
Yep.
Like, it comes back to normal. I mean, in the original one, there weren't dancing teacups and
Darn.
wardrobes and things
I want
like
dishes
that.
that'll do themselves.
I know, right? And, who doesn't want Angela Lansbury as a teapot?
Right? Oh, can that woman just, like, not that I believe in AI and taking things over when people pass away, but like, we need a teapot that has Angela Lansbury's voice. Everyone.
Exactly.
All the 90s
That'd be
kids need that.
amazing. Do you want a spot of tea? Why, yes. I mean, I love tea that's made for me as opposed to making tea. Sandwiches are the same way. Sandwiches taste so much better when someone else makes them as
feel
opposed to
like
yourself.
Goes with most food, because for me it's craft dinner.
Oh, okay.
I love craft dinner,
Yeah.
but it has to be made by somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Don't get me wrong, I will make it for myself. I'm not like one of those, I refuse.
No,
But it
but-
tastes different.
Exactly. Like my son's comfort foods when he was sick was Kraft dinner and fried egg sandwiches. And,
I believe it, yeah.
And he's like, I still remember the fried egg sandwiches, and you'd make me KD for, when I was sick. And it was just like, it was my way of showing I care about you, I love you. And
Yep.
and I still remember we were in this really small house, and the kids both were very, very sick, and I was catching it. So I was getting sick, but I didn't want to get into their sickness or whatever. So I was putting trays outside their door. and I'd be like, your food is ready.
Yep.
For Catherine, I think it was grapes. She really wanted grapes.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
Well, I know your body does the whole, like, if you're craving something, you're missing something.
yeah.
So I find that really fascinating when people get cravings when they're sick, and the old adage of, like, feed a fever, starve a cold?
No, starve a fever, feed a cold.
Starve a fever, feed a cold.
Yeah.
See, I get it wrong. But, like, I always make sure I get the right one, and then I follow it, and it works.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, don't ignore those cravings, because a lot of times your body's craving it for a reason. And you can even nowadays look up the junk food that you're craving
And it actually goes back to,
back to what the good food is that you're craving. Because often, because we eat so much processed and junk food, we crave that
Yep.
as opposed to what we really need. And
Yep.
yeah, because I've been craving, I had a little cold and I've been craving grapes because I want the vitamin C and the liquid, that's added hydration.
Hydration,
Yeah. So it was like, and I was trying to get grapes the other day. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent here.
We love tangents.
I was trying to get grapes the other day from a grocery store, and this lady had pushed her cart to the point where it was in front of all the grapes. So there's like a little counter where you can get all the grapes, right? So her cart is taking about half of the counter, and then she's standing there, and she's standing pretty wide, and she's going around squeezing the grapes, because I know she's looking for the hardest ones, the
But you
plumpest
can't
ones.
squeeze all the grapes.
I know, but she's squeezing them through the bag, so she's not touching
Okay,
the
well
grapes.
that's at least a
That's
little
fine.
bit better, but I
But
don't
then
want
there's-
squished grapes.
Yeah, right. So, and then there's also a worker's ladder, like a step ladder that they just have. So I couldn't get at any of the grapes. And she looks around, she sees me, and she's like, "Oh, sorry," and she moves like an inch. And I'm like, "Lady, your cart is taking up most of where the grapes are." And I was ready to just kind of get in and elbow her. Like,
Yup.
you know the song, "Let's Throw Some Elbows."
Throw some elbows, hip check.
It's like- but no, I just stood there kind of staring at her. She
do
still
that.
didn't do anything. I just kind of reached in over.
Yep. So because I work with various ages of children, I understand that they don't have a wide realm of like awareness.
Yes, yes, yes.
But you think it would get better as they get older.
And she was older than me, so she should have known better. You know, it's like, be aware of your surroundings and know that, you know, you need more than an inch. You know, like, be aware of where your cart is too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've done it too, where I've done something stupid. I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry, you're trying to get there and having to move my cart and it's all wrong. But I'm like,
Yeah.
rules of the road apply.
Oh my gosh. Can we teach this to children? Because, like, walking a hallway at a school, don't get me wrong, I love my job, I love my kids, but, like, there are days that I'm, like, insta rage because I'm like, how do you not understand in the middle with your 3 friends around you means nobody can get by?
Right? Yeah, I went to Regi High School.
Okay.
And it was, the hallways were built narrow or whatever.
Well, I
but-
mean, if you're within a certain like realm of decades and stuff, the building codes are different, right?
Yeah, so we all knew, like, this side was going this way and that side was going that way, and everybody kind of knew. And even to get at your locker, you had to kind of squish in, and the oncoming students walking had right of way, sort of. So
Yeah,
you'd
be like
kinda
squish it.
open
Yeah,
your
I remember
locker.
that.
Yeah.
but like, has COVID taught us nothing? Because I remember they used to put they used to put the arrows down and be like, "You go this way. This is for this way."
Oh,
and I'm
we
like,
just did it in
Did we
Regi."
not? Did we not learn anything?
Yeah. And you'd be yelling to your friend, "I'm at the end. Come here, come here." You know?
Yeah, because you couldn't get. It was like yesterday. I was trying to cross 3 lanes of traffic. I'm surprised I managed to do it on a Friday, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to loop around in order to get into where I need to go, because it's not worth trying to bet your
Oh,
butt
yeah.
across 3 lanes
And there
of
were no
traffic.
private conversations in Regi. You
God,
just
no.
yelled your conversation at whoever.
Hey, so and so slept with so and so.
Yeah. And what homework did we have to do?
Yeah. Oh man, oh yeah, no, nothing was private. No,
No.
you're not making me think talking about high school.
Yeah.
I think the only times I had a private conversation is friends of mine always had the art room at lunch because they
Oh, yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like doing art on their breaks, and the
Yeah.
teacher like
Music was the same.
yeah, they trusted them enough to be like, hey, don't destroy the room, but you can have a table.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only way we had private conversations.
Yeah, yeah. That was back in the day, so I'm aging myself a lot. My music teacher would smoke in his back office in the school.
Oh, that is aging you. 'Cause
Yeah.
that would be like a
That was
fireable
still
offense
allowed.
nowadays. Actually, I was in for training. I had to redo a certification for this year, and we were in like the drama department, and it's like, don't get me wrong, school was built recently, but I kind of was like, whoa, this is what they get now. I want this.
Yeah,
'Cause it was
right.
far cry from what we got.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, those were good times, good
Yeah.
times. But yeah, Beauty and the Beast and strength are about having that strength. And speaking of tears, you know, I was just talking about how Belle, you know, helped the Beast with her tears and it broke the spell and stuff like that. Much more acceptable than the kiss that Sleeping Beauty gets.
Yeah.
While she's sleeping.
I
I
feel
mean,
like we could go on a whole tangent on.
I
other
know that
delights
was
about-
often seen as a romantic thing, but you know, there's the whole consensual thing and whatnot. And like if I'm asleep, I don't mind if my husband kisses me.
No.
But I
But
guess
it's your husband.
yeah, I've given him that consent. The
You
day
put
I
a ring on
married.
that, you blanket consent. Josh reminds me of that too, because he'll just like reach over sometimes, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, I put a ring on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
I consent to all kisses.
Yes.
But you know, like speaking of that, also strength is showing the emotions that you have. Like it's okay to cry because a lot of men and women both feel like, well, I'm stronger if I don't cry, and in fact, it's stronger in a lot
Gentle
of ways.
strength.
Yes, gentle strength, showing that you do have that emotion, that compassion, not to the point where you're like, I'm out of control and upset or anything, not the ugly cry, as they call it in Bridesmaids. My ugly crier? Yeah, you kind of are. Because we all want to be that beautiful crier, like just the teardrop that rolls down. As opposed to the, oh my God, this is awful. Because, yeah, I don't think I'm a pretty crier.
Oh God, nobody is. Like, I mean, they make it look pretty for TV, but they're not actually crying.
No, no.
Because like nobody is a like I look horrible when I cry.
Right.
Like
yeah.
just no.
Yeah, and I don't know how they do it on demand, like people that, actors that can,
Oh, I was watching something recently that someone was like, I have a song. She's conditioned herself that every time she listens to the song, and if she really needs to cry, she listens to it on repeat to get her to cry.
to
So
get her
it's
to that space.
yeah. So it's
Okay.
emotional manipulation to yourself,
Right.
to get you in that headspace to cry.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing an interview, I think it was, with Norman Reedus
Okay.
of Walking Dead. And in one of the scenes, he had to cry, and he doesn't
No.
cry on demand.
Yeah.
And he said the director was really good because he was working with him to get him to cry. But Norman Reedus even said, I was pretty ugly at the start because he was like, you know, it's like, that's how I would be. I'd be like, okay, I'm crying now. It's like, are you?
Are you actually, or do you just think you're
Or
crying?
are you just making a weird face?
Well, it's interesting too because it all depends on how. Like, I'm a pretty emotional person, and I can keep it in check when I absolutely need to. But like, even yesterday, I got to see my kiddos that I worked with last year, and I was like, oh, they're growing up so, like, they're so tall because I haven't seen them in
yeah.
like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, almost tearing up.
Right.
Because they've done so much, and they're all happy, and they're all like glad to be back at school, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, they're growing up so fast. They're not even mine. Like, and I'm like, I can cry, and I'm like, why? I don't need to be this emotional. They're just
Well, that just, you know, shows the commitment you have to your job and
I
career.
know, I
You're
know.
very good at it. And it's okay to show that emotion. And it's okay to show children that it's okay to show emotion in that mindful way, right?
Yep.
You know, because we're often taught, don't cry. That's,
well, and that's exactly it. So like, depending on the situation. So if a kid comes to me and is already hurt and they're crying, I'm like, it's okay, you can cry.
yeah.
But if they're like hit the ground and they have that like shock moment,
Yeah.
and I'm like, nope, you're good.
Yeah.
No, we're good. And it's like, but trying to make sure you have those ways of like, and if they're gonna cry, they're gonna cry. I'm like, it's okay to cry, but like,
Yeah.
I don't want you to just open up the waterworks because you think you,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so like with kids, you almost gotta like.
I did
shock
that with
them
my
into-
kids. Yeah, like when they fall down, be like, "Oh my God, they're stunned at first." I'm
Yep.
like, "Okay, you're okay. Are you bleeding? No. Okay, we're okay.
Yep, we're
let's
good.
Walk it off.
Walk
Let's
it off.
walk it
Let's
off."
go find something over here to play with.
Yeah.
But then if they're already crying, like, and they're some of them look so sorry, and like, I don't know if it's already
Yeah.
conditioned in them that they're not allowed to. Like,
Yeah, because if it was a big hurt, of course, like
yeah,
you have to validate.
always
Validate.
Yep.
But the thing is, you have to learn to validate yourself.
And I think
too.
that's what people forget. And that's where that like quiet strength comes from, is like some people pour out and pour out and pour out and pour out without putting back into their own cups.
Yeah, or they keep rehashing.
Yep. And then that drains them but doesn't refill them
Yeah.
energetically, metaphorically, however you want to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. But there it is, strength.
Yep.
So I hope you enjoyed our journey with strength. If you have any comments about strength, please let us know, because we're all on a journey together, and I hope you'll join us for the next journey. We've already done the hermit, so
We're gonna skip over the hermit.
yeah, we've done it. We went out of order. It's all
The hooded
good.
man.
Is it the wheel? Oh, the wheel
wheel.
of fortune. Ooh, that'll be fun. And watch all our other tarot delights that we have up there. And please like this video, subscribe to this video, or to
the
our
channel.
channel, and share the video with your friends. Anyone that loves tarot as much as you do. Okay, bye.
Bye.
X. There we go. I think I got it this time.